What's up everybody, it's Sean here, back today to give you guys a review of the Air Jordan 12 Retro in this French blue colorway. This sees the return of the French blue Air Jordan 12, which might surprise some people, but this was actually not an original colorway from the late 90s. This pair first dropped in 2004, and to my knowledge, it was never worn by Michael Jordan because by the time these released, he was already retired from his stint with the Washington Wizards. However, it was worn famously by players like Kobe Bryant, as well as Carmelo Anthony. And the last time these retroed were back in 2016, so that's nearly a decade later, and Jordan Brand has brought these back. So these retail for $205 US or $260 here in Canada. The official colorway for this shoe is white, metallic silver, and French blue. And these are available at most Air Jordan retailers, including the Closet Inc. here in Canada. The Closet Inc. is an independent shop that I go to for my Jordan retros or Nike releases. They're based right here in Southern Ontario in Canada. So if you're watching from Canada and you want to support a local, smaller shop, check out the Closet Inc. I'll link their socials, their website. They offer some of the best prices in the entire country. So check them out and tell them that you heard about them through my channel. So the Jordan 12 will always have a special place in my heart. I've told this story many times before in the past, but the original playoff 12s, that was the first Air Jordan that I ever got. I wore that during my elementary school basketball tournament. So safe to say, even though Jordan 12s aren't really the most in style or easiest shoe to rock nowadays, it's still a silhouette I'm always gonna pay attention to. So this French blue Jordan 12, it's a pair that I passed on both in 04 as well as 2016. So I'm not gonna claim to be an expert of this colorway, but I have watched other reviews on other people's channels. Shout out to Chris from Wear Testers. And they've mentioned some very interesting critiques about this shoe, which I'll bring about later on in this video. So jumping into the details of the shoe itself, the majority of the upper is crafted out of a nicely tumbled, white colored genuine leather. So this leather quality I thought was actually pretty decent. It has this nice, soft feel to it. And then overlaid on both sides of the bottom of the shoe, we have these textured leather overlays, which is done in supposedly a French blue color, but just comparing this color to the 2016 and 04 colorways, the shade of blue here looks a little bit darker, a little bit more desaturated almost, but Jordan Brand is still calling this officially French blue on the box. So this covers both the lateral and medial sides. And then on the bottom in the middle, we have this synthetic silver layer here with Jumpman branding found on the lateral side only. Above this, we have more of that tumbled leather, which covers the back half of the shoe. It features the stitching done in this radial style. And then the second and the third eyelet from the top, this is a plastic eyelet covered in metallic silver paint. And then on the heel of the shoe, we have this pull tab, which features Jordan branding in a mix of blue, white, and red. And then on the bottom, we have the number 23. This really pops against the blue rubber background. As far as the laces go, so this pair comes with one lace option and they're a rope style lace done in white. Underneath this, the tongue is your typical Jordan 12 tongue, and in this case, it's covered in the middle with this large layer of tumbled white leather. Running down the tongue, we have 2-3 branding embroidered in blue, and we have this blue colored Jumpman embroidered at the very top. The back of the tongue and the interior of the shoe, this is covered in a white colored liner. And then for the insoles, these come with a polyurethane lined insole. It's covered in this blue finish on top, and we have Jordan branding found on the heel. So the upper of the Jordan 12, as usual, it sits atop a Phylon foam midsole, which is painted in a mix of this French blue color on the forefoot and white on the heel. Encased within this midsole, we have a full-length Zoom Air unit. And fun fact, the Jordan 12 is the first signature Air Jordan model to feature Zoom Air instead of regular Max Air. Turning the shoe over to the bottom, so the outsole here is crafted out of a mix of this French blue colored rubber, but we have a white colored Jumpman on the forefoot and this red 23 hit underneath it. For the two pods, both on the forefoot and the heel, we have this herringbone style traction pattern. And I really like the whole monochromatic look of this outsole. I like how they left the pods in the same color as the rest of the rubber. And then we have these slits in the middle revealing this carbon fiber shank plate in red, and this helps with torsional rigidity and mid-foot support. So that breaks down the look and the construction of these Jordan 12s. And for those wondering about how these fit, so to me, these fit like most recent Air Jordan 12s. So they run a little bit long lengthwise. So I feel like if you have a narrow or normal width foot and you prefer more of a snug one-to-one fit, you can go a half size down. But if you have a wider foot or you just like more of a spacious toe box, then go true to size. So in my case, I'm a true size 10, slightly on the wider side, getting these in a size 10 and 9.5. The 10 was probably more comfortable width-wise, and it gave my toes more room to breathe, but the 9.5 just felt more secure It wasn't too snug from a length perspective, but it just was a little bit snug across the width of the toe box. So again, your mileage may vary just depending on how you like your shoes to fit, but if you're in doubt, just stick true to size and it should fit you fine. Moving on to the comfort of this pair. So overall, these are a pretty comfortable Jordan, but they do require some break-in time. Straight out of the box, they can feel a little bit clunky, a little bit heavy, and it takes a while for that zoom to really break in, and over time, they do feel more comfortable. So in my experience, the pairs that I've really worn a lot, they're significantly more comfortable than the day I first got them. So if you're expecting a shoe that's straight out of the box really soft, really comfortable, and form really well to your feet, this is probably not going to be the best silhouette for you, but if you have patience and really wear these in, I feel Jordan 12s to be quite comfortable. Finally, in terms of the quality and the craftsmanship. So first off, material quality I thought was actually pretty decent. This white leather especially felt pretty solid. It's nothing amazing, nothing super premium, but for a GR Air Jordan model, I thought the materials were pretty solid. The craftsmanship on this shoe though, specifically the shape of this shoe, this is where I saw a lot of people on YouTube complaining about this sneaker, and I have to say the complaints are legit. Comparing these to, for example, the white and reds or some of the other recent Jordan 12s that have released, this pair has a lot more of that banana shape, and it just reminds me of Jordan 12s from many, many years past. So it has this really elongated toe box with this collar area that's very boot-like. So I'm not sure why this colorway specifically looks a little bit different than the white and reds, but I do have to say, yes, those complaints are legitimate. So if you're a purist of how your Jordan 12s look and you like them to have more of that OG build, then I think you'll be pretty disappointed with the shape of this 2025 retro. So with all of that out of the way now, let's toss these on feet, I'll lace them up, and I'll show you guys how these look. All in all, I think this retro does some things right, like the quality of the white leather, but there are quite a few things that leave a lot to be desired. The shade of blue just looks a little bit off, and the shape of the shoe just isn't up to par. I think it does look better on feet. The whole shape fiasco isn't as noticeable when you're wearing them than when they're just on a shelf. And I do think the colorway still, even though the blue isn't the same shade that it's supposed to be, it's still a nice looking sneaker, all things considered. So if you're not really picky about those details and you're looking for a solid, nice colorway of Jordan 12s to rock, then I think this is a really great option. And I think these will probably be available for under retail, or at least at worst, you're not gonna have to pay over retail from the secondary market for this pair. So leave your thoughts down below. Let me know, what do you guys think about this French blue Air Jordan 12? What are your thoughts on this 2025 retro? Do you think they did a good job? Was the shape, the color a little bit lacking? Leave your thoughts down below and let's talk about it. And as usual, if you guys enjoyed this review, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet. I'll link my social media accounts down below for you guys to follow. And as always, thank you for the continued love and support, and I'll catch everybody in my next video.